Hello kids, I am Priyanka and I'm back again with my new lecture of class 8 into Wings and Wheels. Chapter 1. The Shipwrecked Sailor. My first impression was that I was utterly alone in the middle of ocean. मेरा पहला impression था जब मैं एकदम अकेला था middle of ocean में. The ship plunged into my abs and disappeared. I had no idea what was happening. मुझे कुछ भी नहीं समझ आ रहा था कि क्या हो रहा है. I took hold of one of the bobbing craters and stupidly began to contemplate the sea. It was perfectly clear day, except for the choppy waves produced by the winds and the cargo shattered across the surface. There was no evidence of shipwreck. Soon I began to hear shouts nearby through the sharp whistling of the wind. I recognized the voice of Julia Amador. Carbello, the tall, well-built officer who was yelling at someone. Fasto, hold there. It was as if it's that instant I had awakened from a moment deep sleep. It dawned on me that I wasn't alone in the sea. There, only a few meters away, my mates were shouting to one another and trying to save afloat. Quickly, I began to think. I couldn't swim in just as any direction. I knew we were about 50 miles from Cartagena, but I was not yet frightened. For a moment, I thought I could hold on to the crate indefinitely until help arrived. I was recusing to know that all around me other sailors were in same predicament. That was when I saw the raft. There was two life rafts about 7 meters apart. They appeared expectantly on the crest of the wave near where my mates were calling out. I seemed awed that none of them could reach the life raft. In an instant of the life disappeared from view. I couldn't decide. I could find myself swimming towards one I could see, which was moving farther away from me. I swam about 3 minutes. I lost the sight of Raft momentarily, but I was carefully not to lose my bearings. Suddenly, a rough wave pushed the raft alongside me. It was huge, white, and empty. I struggled to grab the rigging and jump aboard. I made it on the third try. Once on the raft, painting whipped in the wind, embellished and freezing. I found it hard to sit up. Then I saw three of my mates near the raft trying to reach it. I recognized them immediately. Castello had a great firm grip around Carbello's neck. Carbello, who had been on watch when the accident occurred, was wearing his life jacket. He yelled, "Hold on tight, Castello." They floated amid the scattered cargo about 10 meters away. On the other side was Louis Rengifo trying to stay above water with his headphones aloft in their right hand. He had stripped off his shirt so that he could swim better, but he had lost his life jacket. Even if I hadn't seen him, I couldn't have recognized his cry. Fatso, paddle over here. I quickly grabbed the oars and tried to get closer to the men. Carbello, with a castillo clinging to his neck, neared the raft. Muskrat farther away, looking small and desolate, was the fourth of my mate, Ramon Herrera, who was waving at me while he held on the crate. If I had to decide, I wouldn't have known which of my mates to go after first. But when I saw Herrera, the happy young man from Arjona who had been with me only a few moments before, I began to paddle furiously. But the life raft was almost 2 meters long. It was very heavy in the lusting sea, and I had to row against the wind. I don't think I managed to advance more than a meter. Desperate, I looked around one more and saw that Herrera had disappeared. Only Refingo was swimming confidently towards the raft. I was sure he would make it. I had heard him snoring below my bunk, and I was convinced that his certainty was stronger than the sea. In contrast, Carbello was struggling with Castello so that Castello wouldn't let go of his neck. They were less than 3 meters away. I figured that if they just got a little closer, I could hold out an oar for them to grab. But at that moment, a gigantic was lifted the raft, and for the most top of the huge crest, I could see the mast of the small ship leading away from me. When I came down again, Carbolo had vanished with Castiello hanging on its neck. Alone 2 meters away, Rengifo was still swimming calmly towards the raft. I don't know why I did this short thing. Knowing I couldn't move forward, I put the oar in the water and through trying to prevent the raft moving. Trying to anchor in its place, Rafingo, exhausted, paused a moment, then raised his arm as he had when he held his headphone aloft and shouted again, "Faster, row over here." The wind was blowing from his direction. I yelled that I couldn't row against the wind, that he should make another try, but I felt he hadn't heard me. The crafts of cargo had disappeared and life raft danced from side to side. Battered by the waves, in an instant, I was 5 meters away from Renfigo and had lost my sight of him. But he appeared in another spot, still not panicking, ducking under water to prevent the waves from sweeping him away. I stood up, hold out the oar, hoping Renfigo could get close enough to reach it. But then I could see he was stringing, losing heart. He called to me again, sinking, "Fasto, fasto." I tried to row, but it was a hopeless at that first time. I made a last try so that Rafingo could reach the oar, but the raised hand, with a few minutes earlier, had been trying to keep the headphones from the sinking, sank forever, less than 2 meters from the oar. I don't know how long I stayed like that, balancing in the life raft holding out the oar. I kept searching the water, hoping that someone would surface soon. But the sea was clear, and the wind, getting stronger, blew against my shirt like the howl of a dog. The cargo had disappeared. The mast growing more distinct proved that the small ship hadn't sunk, and I had first thought. I felt calm. I thought that one of my mates had managed to reach the other life raft. There was no reason they shouldn't have reached it. The raft were provinced. In fact, none of the life raft of the small ship was outfitted, but there were 6 of them apart from the rowboats and the wheelers. It was reasonable to believe that some of my mates had reached the other life raft and I had reached mine, and perhaps the destroyer was searching for us. Very soon I was aware of the sun, and a midday sun, hot and metallic, stubbled field, not fully recovered. I looked at my watch. It was noon on the dot. The last time Refingo had asked me the time on the small ship, it was 11:30. I had checked the time away and then disappeared. Disasters not yet occurred. When I looked at my watch on the life raft, it was exactly noon. It had taken only 10 minutes for everything to happen for me to reach the life raft and try to rescue my shipmates and stand motionlessly in the raft, searching the empty seas, listening to the sharp howl of the wind. I thought it would take them at least 2 or 3 hours to rescue me. 2 or 3 hours, I calculated. It seemed an extraordinary long time to be along at sea, but I tried to resign myself to it. I had no food, no water, and by 3 in the afternoon I could surely had a searing thirst. The sun burned my hand and my skin, which was dry and hardened by soil, since I had lost my cap I splashed water on my head. I just sat on the side of the raft waiting to be rescued. It was only then that I felt the pain in my right knee. The thick blue drill fabric of my trouser leg was wet, so I had a hard time rolling it up. But when I did, I was startled. I saw a deep half moon shaped wound on my lower part of my knee. I didn't know I had gashed on the side of the ship, or it had happened when I hit the water, for I did not notice it until I was seated on life raft. Though the wound burned a little, it hadn't stopped bleeding and was completely dry. Because of the salty water, I imagine. Uncertain as to what to do, I decided to make an inventory of my belongings. I wanted to figure out what I could count on in my solitude at sea. First of all, I could rely on my watch, which kept perfect time and which I couldn't stop glancing at every 2 or 3 minutes. In addition, I had my gold ring. I would bought it from Cartagena and the year before, and the chain in the medal of the Virgin of Carmen on it, also purchased in the Cartagena for another sailor for 35 pesos. In my pocket, I had nothing but the keys to my locker of the small ship and three business cards I had been given at store in the mobile one day in the January when I had gone out shopping. Since I had nothing to do, I read the card over and over to distract myself until I was rescued. So that was all about this chapter. I hope you liked it. Thank you.